I just wanted to start, Mary-Clair, by thanking you for taking the time to chat with us here at The Christian Beat about your debut single.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. This is amazing.
Absolutely. So it's called Heaven in the Way.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to first start what the song means to you, and kind of where the song came to you.
Mm-hmm. So my whole life I've wanted to write and sing songs and do music. But I was waiting on like something that was worth writing about because I've grown up like in the music industry, in the music scene in Nashville, around a lot of Christian writers. And I've seen artists like find this message that they want to hone in on. And I was like, obviously I want to sing about Jesus, but I want there to be something that I can connect with people about. And I've had grandparents pass away, family pass away. But when I was in high school, I had a friend pass away. And that was the first time that it was like super personal, hit me really hard. And so I wrote a short little demo and took it to a friend. His name's Ted T. He's an amazing producer, super well known in Nashville. And I took it to him and I played it for him. And he was like, okay, I see what you're trying to write, but let's just go back through the whole song and just say what you actually want to say, because I can tell that you're holding back. And he was like, let's just, start from the beginning and you just tell me what you want to say. And I was like, well, I don't want to get too raw. I don't want to it's kind of like an awkward thing to question the Lord's plan. And, whenever someone dies, it's like, well, everything gets foggy and you're like, Lord, I love you, but how could you do this? And he was like, well, that's okay. Like, you can write about that. That's just natural human feelings. So we wrote it and we rewrote it and we did vocals on it. And it took about 1.5 years. And then we put it out and it's my first ever song. And it's like probably the song that I've written that means the absolute most to me. So I'm just glad that it's my first single. It's really exciting.
That is awesome. I was gonna ask why this song as your debut single, because I'm sure there's like that extra bit of make that one not that your other ones wouldn't be good ones per se, but this one holds a special place. So I was curious on why Heaven in the Way was the one that you wanted to be your debut single.
I think that I wanted to show people that although I'm young, like I'm 19, that I can write about things that are extremely, difficult and emotional, because growing up in Christian music, I've kind of heard the same message a lot of the time. It's like, God is good, his plan is good, and we're all just happy and we're living and everything's great and fabulous. And, whenever you lose someone, you kind of look around and you're like, I'm not feeling the grace of God. I'm not feeling his plan over my life. And I couldn't find a song that talked about that. And I couldn't find a song that was like a Christian song, but openly wrestled with the feelings of loss. And so I wanted that to be my first one, just to let people know that even though I'm 19 and this is my first song, that like, I mean business and I'm here and these are my honest feelings. And I've found that once you open up your heart to the Lord, he can handle it. That was a lesson that I had to learn, because I was like, God, I don't want to bother you with this. You're a big guy. You've got a lot going on, but like, I don't see your plan in my life. I don't see your hand in my life. Whenever, my best friend just passed away, and I put it all in a song, and and here we are.
No, that's great. And I also wanted to ask, with this being your debut single, how much of this ballad do you think actually encapsulates like the sound that you have and the sound that you want to have? Again, how is that tricky to kind of pull that out too? Again, trying to showcase that in one song.
So my approach was like, I just want to go as raw as possible. Like I told Ted, I was like, I'm fine with it just being piano and my voice, because I love ballads. I love like just like as stripped as you can make it, as acoustic as you can make it, just the most honest way to go about it. And then I would sit back and watch Ted produce it and like add these strings and everything. And I was like, I mean, obviously this sounds great, so this is fine with me. But yeah, I think the song is a perfect like marriage of like, I wanted it to feel raw and songwriter and, demo-y and just like me brokenhearted with like my voice memo, what I honestly feel. And then Ted's magic touch of like production and just his legendary sound. So I think they came together really nicely. I think with future projects, I would want to keep the same vibe of like just raw emotion and great music together.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it has been out for a little bit now. So I'm just curious, what has been the feedback? What are the kind of responses you're getting from those who've been able to interact with the music so far?
It's been amazing. I've once again like grown up watching Christian artists, and I've always watched them like at shows or red carpets whenever fans come up to them and say, "Thank you so much for your song. It made me cry, it brought me out of a dark place." And I always watch the artists and they're like, "Oh my goodness, that means so much to me." And I've watched them do it thousands of times. And in the back of my head, I was like, I wonder if they ever like just say that just to say it and they don't take it to heart because it happens to them every day. But now that I'm on like that receiving end, every single person that says this song made me cry, this song touched me, it's a genuine reaction of like, thank you so much. And it's funny because I'll get a text from like my friend from middle school who's like, Mary-Clair, I didn't know you sung. And then I'll get a text from like someone's manager that's like, Mary-Clair, I didn't know you sung. And it's like, I mean, here I am. And so it's like these people that have known me for forever, and then people in the industry that are like, I didn't know that, where have you come from? And I'm like, I don't know either, but here I am. So
Oh, that's so funny. Is there any piece of that that has kind of, I don't want to say changed the song for you, but kind of like deepened on the song now that you kind of have all of those responses and stories and input that you're now could be thinking about hearing about while you're future performing that song?
I feel like before I released the song, I was really questioning what my next release was going to be. If I was going to steer more toward praise and worship or more of like pop Christian or whatever I was going to do. But ever since I've like found what it's like to hear from someone how you help them in a dark place and gave them like an emotional gift that was just good and it found them where they were, that feeling is better than someone saying, I love your car, we're dancing to it or I love your song, we're dancing to it in the car. Like, I would rather touch someone's like emotions and help them with what really matters than to like give them a song that they're like, let's roll the windows down and have a party. Cause like, this just means more to me. And the messages of people saying, I just lost my mom, I just lost my best friend, and I found your song. I mean, and to steer them toward realizing that you can be honest with the Lord is more important than just fun music. So I definitely am thankful that this was my first release because it's given me vision on what I want to do next and it's touched people. So
That's awesome. And I'm curious if you had that as part of your like definition of impact or success for the song that you went in, or kind of what were you thinking you were going to get out of releasing this song, and what kind of had you put kind of as those markers for you with releasing this?
I feel like I had to get in a place before I released it where I was like, no matter what the response is, no matter how big or small it is, I've seen that the Lord placed this purpose in my life to sing, and He's given me a charge of, making music and releasing it so that it can offer people hope and a place of like a safe place for them to listen to a song. And so I think that was really important of like before the song even came out, like I was praying with my family and friends and artists that I've grown up watching, and they were like, you know, you've already won. It's already a success because you were faithful in the call and faithful in like taking these hard feelings and writing them and releasing them. And I think the markers of success have just been the personal ones and not the flashy ones of like, oh, look, like I'm on a playlist over here and this is happening and these people are talking. But it's like the people that are heroes in my life of artists that, you know, text me and they're like, Mary-Clair, like last time I saw you, you were 5 years old and now you're grown and you're releasing music. Like those things I think are the cool things where it's like, you can tell someone you sing and you can send them a demo, but whenever they can just go on iTunes and see you, and I mean, and your music and lyrics can just speak for themselves, that means so much more. So
Absolutely. I am curious, you've talked a little bit about what this single kind of has done to impact others. I'm curious if there's any songs as you were making this that were kind of those that were impacting you at the same time.
yeah, there were a lot. So, I mean, there were inspirations that I drew vocally, lyrically, musically. I think a big one about the message and the feeling that it gave people was I Can Only Imagine by Mercy Me, because I mean, that's their best-selling song. It's been in the top 20 Christian charts since it came out.
Mhm.
And it's because as soon as you hear the first note on the piano, you know that you're about to be taken into a place of like imagining heaven. And ever since I was a kid, I've been, you know, infatuated with the idea of heaven, and everyone always sees it as like this amazing thing. And the first time that I had a feeling of like, well, wait, like all of the people that I love are there. So it's kind of the only thing separating me from the ones that I love. And I don't like that. And, you know, half of me is like, I want to go there. And half of me is like, it's supposed to be a great place. I don't think it's a great place. It has all the people that I love. And I don't like this feeling of separation. So I Can Only Imagine was a big one where it was like, I want to paint that picture in people's heads of like that feeling of longing to be somewhere and wondering what it's like. And like that feeling of like the unknown and what happens up there. And I'm just so curious to see what it's like whenever we get there. And then just like vocally and musically, like there's tons of songs, but I would just say Imagine had the feeling and an idea of picturing heaven, and that's the main theme of this song. So
Absolutely. I'm curious, with this being the first single, what kind of, you've already mentioned, you know, future releases at some point, but kind of like, where are you in that process? What are you kind of thinking? What's next? Don't have to answer anything that'll get you in trouble or anything, but just curious about that stuff.
I mean, obviously I want to release more music. Kind of the algorithm is like a 6 to 8 week thing is what I've been told, which I released my first song like 3 days ago, so I'm super new to all of this. But my plan is just to keep making music that, you know, might seem a little intimidating, but it means more than just making a fun song. And so I am in the studio, I am working on it, and hopefully very, very soon it will be out. And then, you know, eventually there's albums and all kinds of things. So it's definitely on the forefront of my mind, and it's, you know, here we go.
No, that's awesome. It's so great to be in the beginning of this. I do want to be respectful of your time though, so I'll close with like one final item here. Just want to give you the opportunity to either, you know, share a word of encouragement or impact, or kind of what you hope this song means to those who may end up listening to it.
I would say that I hope this song helps people realize that the more that they can let the Lord in on the scary feelings, the more of a authentic relationship their faith will become. And the harder life gets, the easier it is to just close the door on like faith and the Lord and talking to him about all these feelings. But I think a big lesson we can learn is he can handle it. He created us. He already knows, you know, our insecurities, our feelings, our troubles. And the more honest we can be about what's on our heart, you know, the more intimate that love becomes and the more real that love becomes. And I think that's the main goal of my music, because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters in this world. And I'm just thankful that I got to create a song that kind of started to start that conversation and stir those feelings in people, especially believers and Christians in the Christian music industry, that just sing songs that God is good, and God is good, and he is incredible. And at the same time, hard things happen on earth because it's a sinful world. And it's just meeting in the middle of like, we are sinful, God is perfect and holy, but at the same time, he can meet us in our mess and pull us out of that, but we have to invite him in. And I think this song is inviting the Lord into the scary feelings and the scary places. And it's just a very vulnerable thing to do. And I hope that people can see that and feel that, and it will help them. So
Awesome. Well, I just wanted to thank you again, Mary-Clair, for sharing a little bit more of your heart and story behind your debut single.
thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun. My first interview. So thank you so much for, giving me the opportunity to do this. It's been super fun, and you're amazing and incredible. So this is awesome.